Hello everyone, my name is Michael Eastman, and today we're going to be running through OSPF using Cisco's Packet Tracer. So what is OSPF? OSPF stands for Open Shortest Path First. So OSPF is a dynamic routing protocol. I'm pretty sure we've all from here remember hearing dynamic and static, right? In a previous video, I showed how to configure a static route from one point to the other, right? I had to manually configure that route. So that's what static means, right? Manually configuring a route. So OSPF is a dynamic protocol that's going to dynamically find the routes, right? Routers. In this case, it would start to establish OSPF neighbors, right? And how it would establish OSPF neighbors is using with OSPF hello packets, right? Or hello messages. So basically, it'll once I configure OSPF, right, on a particular router, it'll start to begin to start sending out those hello messages, right, to those interface out through those interfaces that match that network command, right? And once they get a response from another router, like, hey, I'm also using OSPF, let's establish a connection so we can build a routing table to multiple hosts or multiple endpoints, right? Or in this case, it'd be routers, right? So that we, as a network technician, or if you're just having to configure a router, we don't have to configure each and every single route from router A to D to C to wherever. We just complete OSPF and we are able to build our routing tables, right? So in this particular lab, I have 4 routers with 4 different networks, right? All of these networks are /30. They're all point-to-point networks, right? So a /30, whenever you hear /30, right, think point-to-point, right? There's only 2 addresses that are usable in this these networks, right? So how do we configure OSPF? Let's jump right in. So I'm going to go to router 1 and I'm going to open up the command, right? And I'm going to do enable, right? Actually, I'm already in enable. Let's start. I want to start it over from the beginning. So I'm going to do en, conf t to get us into the configuration terminal, and I'm going to do router OSPF, and everything's going to be OSPF1 in this lab. So OSPF1, right? Now that I'm in OSPF1, right? I'm looking at router 1 and what 2 interfaces are connected. I have these 2 networks here, and I want to configure which interfaces are going to start to use OSPF. So the command is network, and I'm going to do 192.10.10.0. And OSPF uses a wildcard subnet mask, right, when you're inputting these commands. So I don't know what that wildcard is, right? So one of the things I want to stress is trying to find the information, right, if you don't know, right? As an IT professional, network technician, cloud technician, security professional, we're probably going to be faced with a topic or a task where we're not too familiar and we may need a little bit of help. That help can definitely come from Google, right? I do want us to be very, very good at Googling answers. There's a lot of forums, right? I do reference like a lot of Cisco forums from time to time if I'm stuck, right? Okay, I might not really know this command. I'll reference that. I'll go on because there's a lot of people who have the information, right? So I'll go and look for that. Another thing you can do is when you're in house, you're on premises, it might be a tech that's more experienced than you. Don't be afraid. Don't be prideful to not go and ask that tech, hey, I'm struggling a little bit. I might need a little bit of help here. Could you maybe help me out and explain this to me? Now, we always don't want to be in a position to where we're always having to ask for help. We want to be able to find those answers on our own, right? To be a little bit more self-sufficient, right? So that we are contributing to the team and not kind of holding it back. A lot of, some people might not be comfortable with helping the person that holds your hand, right? But we do want to make sure that we're able to find those answers. It's okay not to know. It's not okay to sit there and hope the answer magically appears before you, because it's not, right? But also, I also want to advocate the so that you can start to build information, start to put tools that are at your fingertips, right? One of the things that I do is that I have on my phone album in my photos where it has a bunch of commands, right? Whether it's Windows, whether it's Linux, right? Cisco or Juniper commands. So like if I'm stuck, I can reference that table really quick. It takes like 2 seconds to pull it out, look at that table. Another thing that I do, right, that would be really good in this scenario is that I have a subnet calculator on my phone that will tell me what the wildcard mask is, what the broadcast address is, the last address, the first usable address, the WAC, what is it, a WAC 30, WAC 24, excuse me, the number of hosts, and the wildcard mask. Let me show you that really quick, right? So again, I'm going to go to my phone. And I'm going to, so under my phone, I have it listed under utilities. And I'm going to go to my network. And I'm going to type up a WAC 30. Right, and I want to show you, see if I can get this on camera as best as I can. So here's my subnet calculator, right? So you see the WAC 30, right? You see the subnet mask, and then you see the wildcard mask, O.0.0.3, right? And then it's going to show you the class, the number of usable addresses, right? The number of the network ID, the first, the last address, right? As well as the broadcast address, right? So definitely get in the habit of finding tools that are at your fingertips that you can use if you get stuck, right? So in this scenario, I was stuck. I didn't know what the wildcard mask is of a WAC 30 subnet mask. So I looked it up. I pulled up my phone. That took me about 2-3 seconds to find out that answer. Now I can go back to my command line terminal and I can just input that in, right? So it's very important. Again, it's okay not to know. We're all not, there's something we're not going to know, but it's not okay to sit there and not try to find out what the answer is, right? So again, we found out the answer. It's O.0.0.3, right? So we're going to do that. Oh, sorry, 0.0.3. And we have to make sure when we're using OSPF, we have to specify the area. So for this instance, it's going to be area 0, right? Area 0, right? So now we're going to go and add the next network, which is going to be 192.10.13.0, same wildcard mask, .3, area 0, right? So now we're done with router 1. Well, actually, we're not. We actually have to add our passive interface, right? So why do we configure passive interfaces? So when our router starts to send those hello packets, it's going to start to send hello packets also to like, let's say we had a switch on this particular router. I wouldn't want that switch to receive those hello packets. So I would configure that as a passive interface. I have loopback interfaces configured on all of these routers. I don't want those hello packets going to the loopback interface because it just goes to nothing. So that command is passive interface, and it's going to be L for loopback 1. I get all of the loopback addresses that are configured on all these routers are going to be L1. Right? So now I'm actually done with this router. Right? Now, nobody else is configured with OSPF. So now it's sending out those hello messages, but nobody's answering because nobody's configured to OSPF, right? So let's get out of router 1. And we're going to head to router 2, right? Enable conf T, and then we're going to do router OSPF 1 again. And then we're going to do our network command. We're going to look at our networks that we have available. Okay, so it's going to be network 192.10.10.10.0. And then our wildcard mask is again 0.0.0.0.3, and then area 0. Oh, and look at that. I got that OSPF connection with router 1, right? They sent those hello packets. They said they established a connection. Hello, is anybody else using OSPF? Router 2 is like, I am. Now they're going to build a routing table and build a bunch of different routing tables and routing addresses to create a different path to different hosts, right? So again, they're saying hello, they're acknowledging each other, they build that routing table to different hosts. Okay, let's continue. So now we're going to do the same thing for, all right, oops. Seven, and then that should be it. And now we have to configure the passive interface, which is going to be the same thing. It's going to be L1, right? Now router 2 is done. We're going to go to router 3. Oh, and before I do that, I kind of want to show one thing. I should have did this at the beginning, but the whole point of this is so that I can communicate to any one of these routers can communicate to each other. Well, I should have done this at the beginning. But basically, when we started, if I had tried to ping router 2 to router 4, I wouldn't have gotten a ping, right? So when we configure OSPF, I'll be able to ping router 2 to router 4, router 3 to router 1. Everybody will be able to communicate, right? I should have showed that at the beginning. That's my fault. Should have showed what it looks like when we don't have OSPF configured, but we'll just continue. So conf T. Again, we're going to go into router OSPF1 and then network or network command. So I'm looking at router 3, so it's going to be 192.10.11.0, then 0.0.0.3, and then area 0. Okay, and our next one, we're going to do network 192. Oh, and again, I got another hello, right? Another connection established using OSPF. So now we're going to do 192.10.12.0.0.0.0. I'm sorry, the 3 for the wildcard mask and then area 0. And now the last thing we need on this router is the passive interface, which again is L1. Now we're going to go to router 4. And this is our last one we got to configure. Conf T. And router OSPF1. And then network. So our network 192.10.13.0.255.255.255.252. Oh, sorry, wildcard mask. See, got almost messed up. .0.3 area 0, and then we're just gonna do 192.10.12.0. And then our passive interface, L1. So now we've established OSPF with all 4 of our routers, right? So I'm in router 4. Let's see if I can ping all the way to router 2. So let's try to ping 192.10.11.2. Let's see what happens. and we got a successful ping, right? I was able to ping from all the way over here to here. Let's try router one. Let's see how that works. Let's go to router one. Let's try to ping all the way to router three. Let's try to ping on this side over here. 192.10.12.2. Let's see what we get. And another successful ping. So again, we just configured OSPF, right? OSPF is our dynamic routing protocol. We're going to be using that to configure dynamic routes within our network, right? Within our network. If we're trying to do outside of our network, that's where BGP will probably come into play, right? So BGP, think we're going out. OSPF, we're in, right? Inside of our own network, right? So really quick, let's just cover what we just did and do a little really quick review. So we configured OSPF, a dynamic routing protocol, because we don't want to sit there and manually configure each route. Because if I wanted to get the same effect with OSPF statically, I'd have to go into every single router and configure it with each static route, right? And the static route is where we're doing IP route, the host, where we want to go, that network, the subnet mask for that host network where we want to go, and then the next hop. I didn't have to do any of that. And as you can see, it didn't even take me that long to configure each and every single router, where it probably would have took me a lot longer to statically configure each and every single route so that we can have full connectivity between all of them so they can all communicate. Right. So again, remember, dynamic, they send hello packets. The routers send hello packets, OSPF, hello packets or messages to each other to try and figure out who is using OSPF. Oh, you're also using OSPF? Oh, not only am I using OSPF, my neighbor over here is also using OSPF. Oh, really? Let me learn about them too. And then they go over there like, hey, I heard that router two told me you're also using OSPF and you're router three. Yes, I am router three, right? I'm using OSPF. Here's another person that's using OSPF. Router four. They're also using router four. Really? Oh, okay. Let me learn about them. So it'll go and learn about each and every single router. If the routers are directly connected to each other, they'll automatically kind of have that connectivity, right? But you can still configure the network command on those interfaces as well, because you want to have those interfaces using OSPF, even if it's directly connected to the router. You want to be able to have that because that's what's really going to help you get that full connectivity. In this case, with all four of these routers, right? So again, this has been OSPF, right? Like always, if you have any questions about anything I've covered here today, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn at Malcolm Eastman. You can find me there by looking at my name, Malcolm Eastman. And you can also find me on my Bible email at Malcolm at malcolmeastman.tech. Again, this has been OSPF using Packet Tracer. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.